Hi, third grade. Welcome back. I hope you guys all had a good time creating that interesting tinfoil canvas creation and that it wasn't too difficult for you guys to create. This week, we are going to start kind of um, creating our Starry Night onto our tinfoil, and I'll talk to you guys about different types of ways to do it. But what I first want you to do is grab a blank piece of paper, and this is just going to be like a rough draft because I want you to practice what you're going to do first before you actually carve into that tinfoil, because I'm assuming you maybe only made one. Um, Again, if you do mess up, you can always go back and make your own because you know how to. But it's always good to practice first. So I just had printed out in front of me a reference. You can either use this picture from watching this video, or you can Google it yourself, or that interactive Starry Night website that I attached to the last assignment. You can use that as a reference. But so we are focusing on showing movement. So a lot of kind of lines that are going in the same direction. So I'm kind of starting on this side of the paper and I'm letting it kind of flow across my paper, doing a lot of kind of uh, curls and swirls, spirals, a lot of dashed lines, repetitive again and again. And I am trying to copy it a little bit, but I'm also trying to put my own little twist on it. And I'm going to have you guys not recreate what's going on down in the bottom of your scene, because later in this project we are going to create kind of our own cityscape, or maybe I'll give you guys some different options, but we're going to create something on another piece of paper and kind of glue it onto our tinfoil. So if you put all this detail in down here, it might get covered up. So you can see in my drawing I'm kind of focusing more towards the middle and top. I do end up drawing some on the bottom, but it's kind of, again, like repetitive swirls and stuff that I'm not going to be too angry if it gets covered up, because it's not like I'm putting in all this effort to put in these little details of the city down there. So it's just kind of those repetitive swirls and curls. And I'm kind of going quick because this is just a rough draft, okay? I'm just trying to get the flow and the hang of what I'm going to do on my actual tinfoil, okay? Thinking about how many like little stars. If you want to create your own stars a different way, go for it. If you want to have it be a sun instead of a moon, you don't necessarily need to do the starry night. Maybe it's the sunny day and you create a daytime scene. You can definitely choose that, okay? So here is a piece of tinfoil. This is like a practice one because I was testing out different materials to carve. I personally found the best thing to use is the back of a paintbrush, as long as it's not too pointy. Um, I think like maybe a dull pencil kind of works, but so I'll press play and you can see. So I'm just taking the back of a paintbrush, and you want to lightly kind of just imprint and carve into it. We don't want to rip the tin foil, so you want to make sure that you're applying pressure, but not so much that it's going to rip, okay? You just want to have it lightly kind of glide on the top of the tin foil. Here is with a pencil. I was really nervous. I could almost feel the paper um, kind of, or the tin foil. It didn't feel comfortable to use because I felt like I was just going to break through the tin foil to my other surfaces. But it did work kind of fine. I was just a little bit, it feels different, okay? Um, I also tried using a Q-tip. I broke off a Q-tip and that worked really well also. So if you don't have a paintbrush and you do happen to have a Q-tip, you could kind of break off the fluffy end part and that kind of worked. Um, Sharpies work really well, and you can have this choice if you want to incorporate color in the future videos, and maybe even later in this video we do use color, but I'm going to give you guys the choice. So Sharpies work really well. I did test out regular like Crayola markers. I'm going to pause you for a second. I use like regular Crayola markers, washable, and they do work fine, but you just need to be careful about smudging because you're putting it on this slick surface that if you put your arm or hand on it, your fingers, it smudges really easily. But if you draw with it and kind of let it dry a little bit, it does dry into place. But if you do have Sharpies, I think that's the best option. And so then here, I'm just taking a yellow Sharpie and I'm trying to color in something that I already carved into, and that gave it a cool look, kind of similar to actually using the Sharpie, but it was just like a different effect. This was like a metallic marker, which I did not really like the way it didn't really carve into it at all. It just kind of sat on the top. So I am going to avoid that. Just you want to find some sort of tool that will help you kind of carve into it. And so here is my blank one, and this is going to be kind of like your next step that we are going to do with our actual tinfoil canvas. So I'm taking that paintbrush, the back of it, because I think that that works the best. And I'm basically doing what we just recreated on that rough draft, that practice drawing paper. And again, I'm working very slow and carefully because the slower you work, the more control you have over your surface and your paintbrush or whatever you're drawing with, and there's less chance for you to rip that tinfoil. Okay? And so again, we're really trying to recreate this movement within the Starry Night. Again, you guys can put your own twist on it and create it however you would like to. So I'm just going to kind of fast forward this because it's just me drawing it out, adding a lot of dashed lines, repetitive, trying to grow the space. So essentially what I did on my rough draft, okay? And so once you start to kind of fill all of yours up, I am not sure if I'm going to do it in this video or not. Let's see. So I think I am. I'm going to start I'm going to start to color in a little bit. And if you don't have like markers at home or Sharpies, then you don't necessarily need to do this step. Also, if you are liking the way that it looks just kind of carved, you can leave it. Or if you want to incorporate like a little bit of color, you can do that. But so for here, I am just incorporating a little bit of the yellows tones all around. In the next video, we're going to jump into adding more color. And again, if you don't really want to add color, I will give you that option because I feel like it looks really cool and it already does show the movement. So adding color isn't a necessary thing, but I think it is a fun step. But I'll give you guys that option. So again, I'm just kind of filling in yellow areas here and there. I'm not coloring everything that I imprinted. I do add maybe a little extra. But after today's step, this is where I kind of left it off at. And it's right around 10 minutes of work, which is how long you guys should be working on things at a time, because I don't want to overwhelm you with too much. If you do want to do more than this, you can. But next week, we're going to do kind of like two different things, which will be add more. I'm going to incorporate some more blues and like different shades of blues and maybe a little bit more like yellows and oranges into this. And then we're possibly going to start the cityscape or possibly a different landscape. I'll give you guys kind of the option, but that's just kind of going to be the start for today. All right. I hope you guys have some success with it. Again, if you rip your tinfoil, it's not a big deal. You could always just like pull it off and attach a new sheet of tinfoil. You wouldn't really need to construct the whole thing again. But just be gentle with it. Maybe you make a practice one and you can discover kind of what tool would work best to imprint. You could maybe use like the back of a marker or just something with like a more of like a dull point to it. Okay. Feel free to email me with any questions. Feel free to send me pictures of how you're doing. Again, I don't need to see it until the very end of the project, but I hope you guys have some success with this, and I will chat with you next week. Bye.